Skye here from Real Mushrooms. I'm the founder and creator, and we really love what we do here at Real Mushrooms, putting out a very high quality product. And I'm excited today to answer a bunch of your questions. And hopefully we can keep continuing this and gather more questions from you and get feedback from you. So really excited to do this Q&A today. And I'll pass it over to Jeff, my dad here. We're excited to have him around too, to get his feedback and expertise on a lot of your questions as well.
Hey, Mark, Skye, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's really great to be here to answer some questions to everybody. I really appreciate the support that people have given to Real Mushrooms and to Nammex. And we're really focused on quality products and bringing you the absolute best. At Nammex, we consider ourselves the leader in this category, and we're happy to have you along with us for this ride. So great to be here. Looking forward to answering your questions.
And for those unfamiliar with Nammex, you are a supplier for the raw materials, correct?
Absolutely. Nammex has been supplying mushroom extracts and raw materials to the nutritional supplement market since 1989. We were there right in the very beginning, Mark, when there wasn't a single company out there with a mushroom product. Lots of herbal products, but nobody had a mushroom product.
You can always submit questions to us via Facebook Messenger or in the group itself. We'll post posts for you to list those questions, and we'll send out broadcasts via the Messenger to collect your questions as well. So Susan's question is, I prefer to ingest the mushrooms with the powder. I always mix it with my favorite tea, which varies depending on the time of the day. Chamomile at night, ginger in the AM, etc. I usually mix the cordyceps in the AM for energy. What's a good time of day for the reishi and lion's mane?
For reishi, a lot of people will use that before bed to help them with sleep. So I think that would be something for Susan to try out there, is just have it a little later in the evening and see if that helps her relax and maybe sleep a little bit better. One thing to note is we do see the opposite effect with some customers where it might be stimulatory. So make sure you test it out. It definitely varies from person to person, but I would test out reishi in the evenings. Lion's mane, I've been putting that in my bulletproof coffee every morning for the last month or so here. So you could probably have that almost any time throughout the day, I would think.
Jeff, how about yourself?
Well, you know what? I would just say figure out what the best time is for you to do it, and then stick to that and just kind of try to get it at the same time every day. And once you figure out where it seems to work best, Skye had some great recommendations. So once you've done that, then just try to stick to the schedule as much as possible. As long as you're taking it every day, you're still pretty good. So don't worry so much about it. But I just think, if you do it in the morning, do it in the morning. If you do it in the afternoon or into the evening, just kind of try and stay with that.
Awesome. And just from personal experience, before I worked for Real Mushrooms, I was a customer for almost 3 years. And what's really important when we're taking supplements or really eating and consuming any food is to really try to bring yourself to a state of awareness. Eat with a thought process of, what is this food doing for me? How is this making me feel? I'm going to take this mushroom supplement and try to be self-aware on how that's making you feel throughout the day or shortly after. You have to really think hard. And then that's how you're going to be able to figure out what the best time of the day is. I thoroughly enjoy taking lion's mane in the morning because I like to get to work very early in the morning, and I like, my cognition to be on point. So, it is personal preference, and it really just depends. The next question we got is from Matt Millington, and this was posted on the Insider's Post in Facebook. He says, I have an uncomfortable feeling when I hear about mushrooms grown in China. It is difficult to accept that we can trust all of the inputs to be clean. Now, he does have 4 questions under his concern, so we'll run through these individually. What are some of the steps Nammex takes to ensure safety and cleanliness? So, Jeff,
let me grab that one to start with. I think I totally understand. Let's face it, we've gotten so many reports from China, and the cities especially are lots of industry and lots of chemicals and stuff. That's something I was well aware of because I went to China in 1989. That's when I started Nammex. And, because of those types of issues, in 1997, I took OCIA to China with me. They were the one of the largest organic certification organizations in the U.S. I took them to China with me. I organized the very first organic certification workshop for mushrooms in China. 1997. 3 years later, we were having organically certified mushrooms being grown in China and tested and certified by high quality German certifiers. And so what you have to understand is that I take organic certifications seriously, and I've been a part of an organic certification program since 1992. Nammex was certified that year. So it's very important for me, not just the end result, but also how our mushrooms are grown. That's super important. Before any of our products leave China, we will test them for pesticides, fungicides, heavy metals, microorganisms. And then once they arrive in the US, we'll test them a second time. So we're testing all of our products twice to guarantee and ensure that they're clean and free of any of this kind of contamination. And ultimately, we do not sell our products unless they meet those standards. So our standards are super high. And no matter what companies say about, oh yeah, worry about China, look, United States, they spray tons and tons and tons of chemicals all over their crops. It's not just China. It could be anywhere. So we grow all our mushrooms back in the mountains in clean areas, clean water, clean air, really, really great areas, almost the end of the road. So it's really interesting. But believe me, we take that issue very seriously, and we test and test and test.
And you do comment on the water, and one of his questions on top of that one was, is there an on-site water processing and monitoring?
Well, you know what, with the actual farms themselves, that water is just coming right out of the mountains right there. And ultimately, if there are problems with the water, it will show up in the mushrooms, and especially when we're doing our heavy metals testing. And one of the metals that is in the water that is always something that we have to think about, and that is arsenic. So that testing takes care of that. And not only that, again, where these farms are located, there's not a lot going on up above where they are. And certainly we're located outside of industrial areas. And, another one of the questions here, of course, is air pollution. What about drift? Well, that's absolutely a consideration, and we're very conscious of that as well. And that's part of the testing. I mean, all of our tests will cover that type of thing. And what's really interesting about the reishi farms is the reishi farms, after about 2 or 3 years in that location, they will actually be moved to another location just because of sometimes just the buildup of different things in the ground where they're grown. So those will get moved. Other crops where other mushrooms where we just use shelves and things like that, we don't have to do that. But with the reishi, we do. And again, it's all deep in the mountains, in these areas that are just beautiful and really very clean areas.
You're on the front lines. You're making sure that you're visiting China every single year, so you can attest to a lot of what your dad said, I'm sure, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll be over there next month for 2 weeks for the reishi harvest, just like last year. I mean, the Nammex site has a good post on our reishi visit from last year, and you can see photos. And I mean, we want to show you where these mushrooms come from. And you can see the different areas, and it's back up in the mountains. It's like pristine places. Like one of them was right next door to a nature reserve, way back end of the road. I mean, we were driving way back into the mountains. So I think it's important to show that to people and to really dispel, the whole China sort of issue, so to speak. I mean, certainly there is concerns, but I mean, that's what all the testing is for.
For sure. Absolutely. And, before what I did before, interviewing a lot of product creators out there, it's really shocking to learn from them that they they couldn't tell me a lot of the same things that you guys tell me. The creators of the products and owners of the companies really do have a responsibility to be on the front lines and get a full understanding of sourcing and how everything's made. And believe it or not, a lot of people have never seen their products being made. Just wanted to kind of squeeze that in there and how important that is for transparency.
Well, another thing that's really interesting, Mark, is, I'm on a lot of different podcasts, and I ask the people interviewing me whether or not they've ever been to a mushroom farm. Very few people, and even your audience, I mean, how many people have actually been out to a real mushroom farm here in North America? Most people really don't have a clue how mushrooms are actually grown, and there's a lot of companies out there selling products, and they don't even know how mushrooms are grown.
Right.
I'm a mushroom grower by trade. I was on a very large farm and worked there for 10 years, and this farm was growing over 2 million pounds of agaricus, and plus we had shiitake, oyster, and enoki-take being grown on this farm by Japanese scientists. So I know the whole process of how mushrooms are grown, so I can come onto a farm and I can look at it and I can really tell what's going on that farm and what their practices are like. So that's something for Nammex, where we're really people that know mushrooms. I've been growing mushrooms commercially for those 10 years and beyond. And so we know mushrooms like no other company really does. There's no one out there in the business that's got a deeper knowledge than we do about mushrooms.
Robin LaForest, her question was posted on the Insiders post in the Facebook group. She would love to know about therapeutic dosing versus maintenance dosing and what the dosing or serving size is on the Real Mushrooms product. Skye?
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a tricky one when it comes to dosing. I know we got a few questions on that. So just for the Real Mushrooms products, all of them are 1 gram servings. So that's what we recommend. If you talk to a practitioner like a naturopath or maybe a TCM practitioner, who maybe you're going to them for a certain ailment, likely the dosage will be increased. But I mean, it could be anywhere from, 1 gram to 5 grams a day type of thing. And it really depends on the person too. So, I mean, we see people who will take the 1 gram serving, or they might even find that to be too much and might even dial it back to like a 0.5 gram serving. So it really depends person to person. And also if you are seeing a practitioner, it'll depend on what their advice is too.
And Mark, what's interesting about supplements is supplements will all, for the most part, tell you to take 2 capsules a day. And most supplements come in 60 capsules per bottle. Take 2 a day. And what do you have? You have a month's supply. That's how supplements are sold. And think about this for a minute. I mean, somebody out there might weigh 110, 120 pounds. Someone out there might weigh 210 or 220 pounds. So really, it's just common sense that you would look at that, okay, what it says on the label there, and you'd really want to kind of calibrate it to certainly your body weight, which would be really important. And the other thing too is, I just think that again, for benefits, one of the things about traditional Chinese medicine, and when they're boiling up and extracting their herbal products, they give people a very strong dose of whatever herbs it is that they're prescribing to them. And the reason they do that, they want to see something happen. They want to see results. So I think, in terms of when we're saying on ours either 1 gram or maybe 2 grams, I think, what Skye says is right. You have to really kind of look at that and make a decision on whether or not you feel like something's going on or not. The other thing too is just remember that mushrooms are not going to get rid of your cold tomorrow or increase your immunity tomorrow. Mushrooms are things that will work in the background. You need to take them for a while to really get the benefits of them. And the beauty of mushrooms too is that you can be taking them month to month. You don't have to worry about, oh, I better stop and give myself a rest or anything like that. Not at all. Mushrooms are something that you can be taking in a continuous manner. And the one scientist and actually a doctor who looked at reishi in great detail, he basically was talking about a daily amount of 2 to 5 grams, 2 being the low end, 5 being the high end, of dried mushroom or equivalent extract. So let's just say 2 grams of dried mushroom, a 10-to-1 extract would be 200 milligrams, as what he saw as being the dose used in traditional Chinese medicine. Mm. I kind of use that in general to tell people, especially companies that want to buy our raw materials, that is a recommendation from somebody who really looked at it. But again, it's just a matter of seeing how well you resonate with that particular product. If you don't feel like you're getting the benefits, you might want to take a little more. So, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Wendy Shiner, this is also from the Insider's Post. She has 2 questions. So for issues dealing with sleeping through the night, what time do you recommend taking cordyceps and how many to take?
Yeah, I mean, certainly when people are taking cordyceps for energy, you're probably not going to want to take that in the evening. We talked about that a little bit earlier as something you want to take, definitely earlier in the day, maybe before your workout, during sometime in that period. So I would definitely, avoid it in the evenings, and then, start with 1 gram or 2 capsules and work your way up or down from there.
All right. Second question from Wendy is, she's starting intermittent fasting. If I can't eat for 16 hours at a time, does dosing impact my fast as eating?
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one, and it'll depend on who you talk to regarding
Yes.
fasting. I mean, Mark, you probably have a bit of info on that. I mean, some people will say 0 calories. And I mean, a 1 gram dose of mushroom will probably be 3 to 4 calories, which is, pretty non-existent. But some people will say, yep, that'll kind of kick you out of fasting. Other people who have maybe protocols, like fasting protocols, where they are consuming a small amount of calories. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's an 80-20 in there of maybe you get 80% of the benefits and don't have to fast for 16 hours. I'm not totally up to date on all the fasting research, but I think, you'd have to ask around a little bit more. And I think we might have just got that question in the group as well. Okay. And there was some good feedback in there.
I think the other thing too is this kind of gets back to the whole idea of whether to take the mushrooms on an empty stomach or not. And that's something that is kind of interesting. And a lot of times you'll see that take whatever herb it is on an empty stomach. And I think there's some validity to that too. And so maybe with the fasting, you might even see something there that you might not have seen otherwise. But in terms of when you're taking the products, I almost think, this is just strictly anecdotal, that maybe taking them on an empty stomach, let's say before meals rather than after meals, is a good thing to do, because I think then you've kind of got a little bit cleaner system in terms of there's nothing there to interfere with their activities. So that is something that I think that people could look at and certainly try when they're taking these. Maybe start off by taking the mushroom products that way before meals and use that as kind of a benchmark.
For sure. Yeah. And without context on some of the concerns and the reasonings for doing your fast, it is hard to shed light on whether you should do a water fast or, for me, I would not be too concerned with taking a gram or like you said, 4 to 5 calories. Like, I wouldn't be too concerned over it. It looks like we have a question from Khalid Fakori. This comes from our Facebook Messenger. And he says, what is the best time of the day to take your capsules, which we've already gone over? I'm currently taking Lion's Mane and 5 Defenders. So why don't we, even though we've already talked about the best time here, why don't we kind of talk about Lion's Mane and 5 Defenders and maybe our personal preference on those? Again, I like to take Lion's Mane really before I'm about to start a pretty vigorous day of work, and 5 defenders for me is almost the staple. I just feel like I get such a good balance of the mushroom products all in one. So really for me, that's any time of the day. A lot of times in the coffee, I can really feel a good sense of bitterness from the 5 defenders. So Skye, how about you?
Yeah, I think, either of those, we've touched a lot on the dosing here. You could take almost any time of the day. I would, prefer probably earlier in the day, whether it's with my coffee or, some point in the morning there. Certainly 5 defenders is going to be a great sort of regulator for your immune system and is really going to help, boost it. So that might be something better to have in the morning. I mean, certainly you're going to want to test it out and just play around with it. That's the great thing about these products is you can kind of mix and match wherever you want and wherever's most convenient in your schedule.
Absolutely.
And the one product that I take regularly is our reishi extract, and I like it just the straight out powder. A lot of people would rather take it in capsules because reishi is a very bitter mushroom, and that's something that one of the ways too that you can tell whether you've got real reishi or not. I mean, reishi is bitter, so any reishi product better tastes bitter. If it tastes bland, you don't have reishi. So I take my reishi in the morning with my coffee. I like coffee a lot. I use it first thing in the morning, and I will. I don't sweeten it in any way, so putting in the bitter reishi just gives the coffee another bitter note in there. In fact, I enjoy the extra flavor that gives me when I put the reishi in the coffee. So, that's for me when I like to take the mushrooms right in the morning, and I just do that every day, and that works well.
Yeah, it's good with coffee.
Yeah, and one thing to note here too is years ago, 3 years ago, when I started taking mushroom extracts and got introduced to your guys' products, I really attest your products to training my palate to become much more bitter. I mean, it's the way our palates really were designed to be in the beginning anyway. We've consumed so much of these sweets now with the way modern food is created and where the sugar industry has gone, that it's like we've kind of lost that. So if we're taking these regularly, we're almost retraining our palate to appreciate bitterness, and you come to love it. And I love it. So
that's such a good point, Mark, because bitters are one of the things that's been completely taken out of the American diet, and that was something that's always been very important. Those bitters are considered to have fantastic nutritional value for us and stimulate our digestive system. So really, kind of getting away from the sweet and utilizing the bitters in that way, I think is really a good point.
Next question comes from Karen Monsoon. She sent this via Messenger. Hi, what makes mushrooms vary in flavor? I've tested some that are bland and some that are amazing, such as morels. Who would like this one?
Oh, I think we could both probably talk about this, and we will. Let me just start by saying, one of the things about the products that Nammex sells is because they are 100% real mushroom, each one has a very unique flavor. Mushrooms are flavorful. That's why they've been put into most diets worldwide. That's why people eat mushrooms. Karen is talking about the amazing flavor of morels, and I agree with her. Morels are a fantastic edible mushroom, and so when you're getting any of our products, you can just dump it out of the capsule or taste it from the pouch, and each product will have its own flavor, and I love that. And the beauty of that is many of the mushrooms that we sell are also food mushrooms, like shiitake, like maitake, even cordyceps. I had a plate of fried cordyceps militaris. It's orange. They look like almost little noodles. And I had a plate of that in China 3 years ago. It was absolutely delicious. If you want to ever compare our products against so many of the other products in the marketplace, like the myceliated grain products, just pour them out, taste them. They will all be bland. Our products, each one of those will taste like the mushroom that it was made from, and the difference is just night and day.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, mushrooms all have those umami compounds that really give it that powerful flavor. I mean, I can't think of that many mushrooms that would be very bland. I mean, maybe a fresh oyster, but most mushrooms, like any of the wild ones, whether it's like chanterelle, lobster, what else? Cauliflower,
Pine mushroom,
pine
the matsutake. I mean,
all have just amazing, distinct flavors to them, and so I wouldn't think that too many would be bland. But I mean, definitely when you're comparing products, that's like an important component of it, is just the taste of it. All our products have a really distinct mushroom flavor, and we embrace that. I know, bland products is probably not a good thing if you think about it. Like, mushrooms taste like mushrooms, so essentially a mushroom product should taste like mushrooms, unless there's a lot of added sort of sweeteners or other ingredients to it. But if you have like a generic bland product, I would be asking questions.
Mark, it's really interesting because, some of the companies out there that manufacture these myceliated grain products, believe it or not, some of them actually say, the best thing of all about our products is they don't taste like mushroom. Can you imagine anyone saying that? It's like they go with everything because they're bland. It's like, well, you know what? If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. It's just bizarre to me that they would make that kind of a statement. A mushroom is flavorful. It's something that should have a taste. Shiitake, for example, and I highly recommend anybody that's not eating shiitake, put shiitake into your diet. Mushrooms are a forgotten food. They're kind of like the missing link. Get mushrooms into your diet as well as supplement with them. Mushrooms are fantastic food.
Totally.
It comes from Kieran Griffin. And this is submitted via Messenger. So she'd also like to know if there are any risks in mixing any of the mushrooms on a daily basis. So let's start off with that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, we get a lot of people who are mixing and matching. They'll take multiple products together. I mean, we've got our 5 Defenders, which is, a blend of the top immune boosting mushrooms there. But some people, pair that with cordyceps or pair it with lion's mane. I think just listen to your body. You probably, don't want to get up into too high a dose. It'll be fine, but, people all react differently to mushrooms. So I think it's really just, feel and listen to what your body tells you, and go from there. I mean, you could dial back the dosage on each, or you could, take a gram dose or more. So it really depends.
Sure. Now, just remember that a 1 gram amount of our extract powders, the one-to-ones that we're selling, that would be 10 grams of fresh mushrooms. That's really not a lot. A normal, think of this for a second, a normal medium-sized button mushroom that you'd buy in the supermarket, fresh weight is somewhere around 40 grams. So even at 1 gram of our products, they've been extracted, which is what's important. But even 1 gram, the dosage is not a lot that should really give you any sort of difficulties, and certainly not when you're blending them with other products.
All right. So last question again is from Kieran. She wants to know if there's a way to combine another supplement to better absorb the mushroom.
I'd say something about that. There are some products out there that make the claim that vitamin C will sort of be synergistic with mushrooms. And that's really interesting, because the man who started all that was someone back in Japan and who was working with the Linus Pauling Institute. And this man, Dr. Morishige, he was really into reishi mushroom. And so he was using reishi mushroom and vitamin C, and he really felt that there was a synergistic effect. And that information got out and persists to this day about vitamin C in mushrooms. And there's really I don't think I've seen any real research to substantiate that. And we've always looked at that, for example, as being, maybe information that's not that credible. So, and I don't know what other, I'm not a formulator. A person could look at traditional Chinese medicine and see whether they're putting mushrooms into a number of their formulas. I don't think there's a lot of that going on, but there probably is some. But otherwise, in terms of actually to better absorb the mushroom, one of the reasons why we do a extraction on our 1-to-1 mushroom powders is that will break down the cell walls of the mushroom, that will pull out the soluble beta glucans. And so we have pre-processed that for you so that it can be better absorbed and be more effective. So that's something that's already really been done for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that. Certainly, there's the vitamin C thing that you will see around the internet, which I don't think there's really much since sort of the Linus Pauling stuff to really substantiate any of that. Yeah, aside from that, I mean, you could, who knows, pair it with other mushrooms but to increase bioavailability, I mean, the extraction's already done, so I don't think there's too much more there.